So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for coming this evening. And without further ado, I'd like to present one of our municipal judges, John Tyler Hammonds, to administer the oath.
Come up here so they can hear us on the microphone here. Okay. All right, Chief, you raise your right hand for me. Repeat after me. I, your name,
I, Darrell Jones,
as the Fire Chief of the City of Muskogee,
as the Fire Chief of the City of Muskogee,
swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties of Fire Chief
discharge the duties of Fire Chief
of the City of Muskogee.
of the City of Muskogee.
I pledge to carry out the duties
I pledge to carry out the duties
of Fire Chief to the best of my abilities
of Fire Chief to the best of my abilities,
and will honor and respect
and will honor and respect
the mission, goals, and purpose
the mission, goals, and purpose
of the Muskogee Fire Department.
of the Muskogee Fire Department.
I recognize the badge of my office
I recognize the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
and I will uphold the ethics
and I will uphold the ethics
of this department
of this department
and this city.
and this city.
And I make these promises
And I make these promises
solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate this. As I said before, it's all about family, and I appreciate everybody showing up today. This means a lot to me. Words can't describe the feeling that's going through me now. I'm so excited to take the helm of the fire department, one of the best fire departments in the state, and I hope to improve on that and build on that. So again, thank you guys very much for showing up. I appreciate it.
Call to order the Finance Committee meeting for September the 3rd, 2019. Our first item on the agenda, we are going to postpone the recognition of our Employee of the Month until next week's meeting. So we'll go right into agenda item number 1.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of August 19, 2019.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments August 10, 2019 through August 24, 2019.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Purchasing Committee did meet this afternoon, and I would recommend approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of resolution number 2778, declaring certain items of personal property presently in the possession of the City of Muskogee to be surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the city manager to dispose of the same, all as per the attached list, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, you have before you the resolution. We do seek to surplus this 1977 vehicle. It served us faithfully for 22 years, and we feel like we need to let it go, and so we do request your permission to do so.
Move the approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval to accept the proposal from First Star Bank to provide banking and treasury services, and further to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a 3-year contract for the same, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Kingston?
Yes, Madam Chair and committee members, Marcy Gillum is here to speak to you about this item.
Hello, Madam Chair and committee members. It's a privilege to be in front of you tonight to tell you a little bit about the work that we did on this. A committee was formed of very highly qualified individuals, and we developed a RFP and evaluation criteria. The RFP was then published in the Muskogee Phoenix, and then it was also mailed out to 8 local banks. We had 6 that responded to that RFP. Using the evaluation criteria, it was, you have to excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. It was narrowed down to about 4. The committee members met on several occasions to discuss the pros and concerns. We brought the 4 banks in for a presentation of their treasury management services. We narrowed it down to 2, and after meeting again, the committee members recommends First Star Bank. So, do you have any questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any discussion?
I would really like to commend staff, commend the committee. We met over this over a lunch meeting and really got to see the fine work that this committee done. I always would like to applaud staff when they do their research and their background to look for ways of saving the city money. Not only in this count did they save the city money, but they are actually making the city money. Going from looking at $500 a month maybe, we're looking at about $15,000 a month. So one, outstanding job on the committee's part. Thank you for taking the time to really making the city money off of our investments and going above and beyond your normal job and taking on this task to really do the best for the citizens of the city of Muskogee. Thank you very much.
We are very proud of you, as a matter of fact.
Yes. Great job.
All right, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes, and with that item passing, that is our final item for the Finance Committee.
We will now call to order the Public Works Committee, September the 3rd, 2019. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of August 19, 2019.
Everybody's had time to review.
Move for approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of the appointment of Leroy Walker Sr. to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission to serve a 3-year term beginning September 1, 2019 and ending August 31, 2022, or take other necessary action.
This is my item. I'm very thankful that Reverend Leroy Walker was willing to serve in this capacity. I think he brings, you very much, everybody on the council knows him. He has the ability of looking at our community and looking at the diversity that we have in our community and being able to see with the decisions that our zoning committee, planning committee makes from every social economic standing, the impact that committee has. And I'm very thankful that he's willing to serve our community in this area. So that would be my recommendation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3.
Consider the appointment of Reggie Cotton to the Eastern Oklahoma District Library System Board of Trustees to serve a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2019 and ending June 30, 2022, as recommended by the Board of Trustees, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, this request has come to us from the Eastern Oklahoma District Library System Board, and I'm proud to bring it forward for your consideration.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4.
Consider the appointment of Marlon Coleman to the Muskogee City County Port Authority Public Trust to serve a 4-year term beginning October 1, 2019, and ending September 30, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Roy Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, much like the City Council has its public trust, the City County Port Authority has a public trust of its own. Similarly to the way the city does business in many instances, their board members also serve on a public trust. That trust they typically use for funding mechanisms, much like we do when they need to borrow money. And so their practice has always been to maintain the same members of the Port Trust as the Port Authority. So Councilor Coleman was appointed as a member approximately 3 meetings ago. And so I did receive a request after I met with Scott Robinson from the Port to clarify the 2 distinctions that they have in their bodies that are named almost the same thing. So to continue the continuity with that, allowing the Port Authority members to also sit on the public trust, I was requested to bring this item to you for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5.
Discuss and provide possible direction to staff to prepare an amendment to the city's zoning code which would restrict the baling of hay to agricultural zoning classifications.
Councilor Van.
Yes, I brought this item to our communications luncheon, and I think this needs to be done to come in compliance with our other ordinance we have for the 12 inches. Residents are only allowed to let their grass grow 12 inches. After the 12 inches, code enforcement goes out, puts a sticker in their yard the first time. The second time they let it grow to 12 inches, they just send them a letter. So sometimes this 12 inches gets higher than 12 inches, and we have to go out there and cut, and then we charge it to the constituent, and that costs them money. But we have people here in the city that takes advantage of this program we have as far as this 12 inches. They let it go higher, and they bail. And you're not, I think bailing is wrong in the city of Muskogee. I think if you're going to bail, you should be in an agriculture zone district to bail. So that's why I brought this to y'all attention, that this needs to be changed to correspond with what our ordinances, the main ordinance, the 12 inches, and gets higher than that. We go out and cut it and send, like I say, a form out to the constituents to get them to cut their grass. So, Mr. Miller, do you have anything to add to this, sir?
I think you've summed it up well. The idea that, as Mr. Van presented to me, is that some people may take advantage of the rules and profit by letting their grass grow longer than it should in a residential area. And he thought this was a way to possibly address that. I know Councilor Johnson and others had talked to me somewhat about this, and there may be other comments as well.
Because another thing is, like when they bail it, they profit off of it. Normally a 5-foot bail is around $35. 6-foot bail is around $45. And then when we do have a drought, they get as high as $80, $90. That one drought we had here in Muskogee. So I just like this to bring this to attention and take it to staff and see if we can get it to planning and zoning, back to the PublicWorks, and go to the city council for a vote.
Second.
Why don't we just split the profit with
Well, so one thing that I might suggest as we're providing direction to staff is for us to include in the direction expanding the scope a little bit to see to analyze what we're talking about here, because there may be lots of tracks that we haven't thought of or we don't know about. This may affect a lot of people. It may affect a few people. It may be good for us if you guys ask us to look at the scope and look at what kind of areas may be affected, and then just have
What do similar cities do based on?
Yeah, and that can be
around
part
our
of that,
size?
because we've not spent time researching that part as far as restricting bailing in other cities as well.
But we do have some zones on the east side that I've seen where people, and I'm not sure where it's zoned or where it's not zoned or whatever, but they've mowed a good portion of the front and then let it grow up in the back and then baled it. And from how far back it was, as a citizen, it didn't bother me at all, and it was not unattractive or unsightly by any means to me. But there could be circumstances or situations that we just want to be aware of.
Right.
And then we decide, well, that doesn't matter, we're going to do it anyway, or no, that's not what we're talking about, or what have you.
My concern is we don't want to react to something. We don't know, and I think we've got a great department here under code enforcement where they have got a great view of Muskogee. We've got some areas that are zoned internally in Muskogee, still zoned agriculture, and they're grandfathered in. We got other areas that are zoned residential that are way outside, but they were zoned residential for development that could be being baled. And leaving bales out there. I don't know that, but I'm supposing some of that. Some of our internal areas are zone county even in some areas. I think a lot of research needs to go into anything that is developed instead of us taking one instance and potentially reacting to that and going, this is what we need to apply to anything over the city. I think we've got, under code enforcement, as they're looking throughout our city, and looking at residential areas and looking at commercial areas and looking at potential agricultural areas and seeing where potential bales of hay are and going, and now is a perfect time. If it's out there, how long it's been out there, and really doing some development and bring back some recommendations to us of what we should move forward with instead of just reacting to this.
And I have a deal. Are we talking about, and that's what I was kind of wondering, we're waiting, and then we're talking about, are we talking about a 200 by 200 lot? Are we talking by 5 acres or 20 acres? What are we need, if it's 5 or 10 acres, and we need to come up with a kind of like a mini farm, kind of like they have in Country Club or something, where they have those little mini farms out there by Rivers Oak or something, where it's under a different classification. That's what we need. There's got to be a happy medium in here and still going, well, it's a residential area and we got to cut everybody, make them all cut their grass. I think there's some leadway here. Because I think when we were looking at the Howard Levine and doing all that stuff back when we were developing all that, we kind of touched on some of that, and we didn't want to impose a 12-inch grass cutting when it's a mini ranch or something. And those were set up, I forget where it was at, in Riverbend Road or something like that, where like Dr. Reifsteck used to live at. He had like a little mini ranch with a little barn and everything. But I think we need to be careful that we don't impose our will on someone that is trying to do good by us, but at the same time, we don't want someone taking advantage of us, because we have some people in our ward that brought some pictures to me, and we're writing them citations for having some Johnson grass up after they just mowed their yard 5 days before, and they got little plotches of this Johnson grass growing up, and we're writing them citations. And it looks like they went through Grandview, and I'm going through other parts of the city going, whoa, are you just picking on Ward 2 this week? And I wish y'all would get off of Ward 2 because we're kind of getting tired of it. You need to go find another ward for a while and bark at them, because I've drove around the city, and if you can't do all the city, then you need to back off a little bit too.
Well, Mr. Hall,
I'm sorry.
When somebody calls in a request, we go out and respond to it.
Well, I got a couple requests too.
I'll be happy to. So.
And you've already heard a couple of them. So either we're going to do it all and we're going to get after everyone, or we're not going to get after anyone. That's my theory on this. And I'm not happy with, I'm kind of not the same way as Mr. Johnson. I don't think we have a great program in there. I think we have some guys that want to do their pick and choose where they're going, and I think they need to get after it. If they're going to do it, do their job. I'm not happy with what they're doing to our ward and attacking those people. Well, they need to hit everybody or none.
If you have something about our operations, I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
You can.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker, with this discussion going in the direction that we need to do more of an evaluation to see what needs to be done, then I think we need clarity on the motion so that we know what we're voting on, because I don't want to vote for something that just says, here's exactly what we're going to do today versus coming back with recommendations based on what other communities are doing, based on one of the comments Mr. Johnson made, which I support, about areas where we may need development, where it may be more advantageous to the city to allow hay baling to take place versus restricting it altogether.
Well, there is currently a motion and a second on the floor which would direct staff to prepare the amendment and doesn't address any of the study items that you all had talked about subsequently, because Mr. Van made the motion and I think Councilor Stout seconded it. So that's on the floor. Now, if that motion fails, or if one of our movement or a second wants to amend, then that could be to direct staff to study the procedure of the practice of hay baling in residential zones within the city, and then bring forth recommendations based upon those findings. That could be another motion that is made based upon the discussion.
Right. And
But as of right now, we do have the motion and second on the floor.
And one other thing I wanted us to consider too is that in a city that allows agriculture in the city limits, we may not want to be as restrictive as we're discussing tonight, because if you're going to allow agriculture and then not allow baling in certain instances, I think it could get murky. So that's just my thoughts.
So we need to vote this motion down and make another one.
Well, we need to
That's
vote
up to
on,
you
we
all.
currently have a motion, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve it as it stands right now.
I'm not going to drop my motion.
Nobody asked for you to drop your motion,
Okay.
Councilor
I
Van.
mean, yeah.
So the motion, just to clarify, is to provide direction to staff, directing them to prepare an amendment to the city's zoning code, which would restrict the baling of hay to agricultural zoned classifications. That's what the motion would be. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Van?
Yes.
Okay.
That-
And Ms. Stout, was your second?
So I currently have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other comments regarding that?
Would you like to comment on anything, Councilor Reed?
I'm ready to vote.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
No.
Evelyn Hibbs.
No.
Patrick Kale.
No.
Marlon Coleman.
No.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
No.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
No.
The motion failed.
So it would be, current motion would fail. So the chair would be open to, if somebody wanted to offer something, or
I think a substitute motion, Mr. Tucker can correct me, would be to authorize staff to do a proper assessment of our existing regulations regarding bay hailing in agriculture versus residential, and then come back with the necessary recommendations after they've done their research.
And I think that we might end up, I might end up agreeing wholly with Ivory's motion, but this is just taking a little bit of due diligence, an extra look at everything to make sure that there's not unintended consequences.
correct.
Right.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
The staff may come back and recommend that what was originally presented is what we need to do, but
Correct.
I don't think we know tonight.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor.
Do we have a time limit on this?
Pardon me?
Do we have a time limit on this? On the staff
As the motion was made, there's not a time limit on it, and on the second, there's not. It would be open.
Marlon, 3 years?
I mean,
You gonna give me a hard time,
I think, Mr. Tucker, normally it's 90 days or something like that, some reasonable number, so that staff wouldn't feel too pressured to come back with something without having done their due diligence.
And I think based on a history, if we don't include that within a motion, then I think it's appropriate to ask Mr. Miller what would be an appropriate time frame. And then if that is unsatisfactory or satisfactory, you could make a new motion accordingly. But
I mean, I can modify my motion. Historically, we've done 90 days on most things like this, and I'm fine with that. If Councilor Van is okay with that also.
I'm just curious, would it take 90 days, 3 months to do this?
We could certainly do it in 3 years, but I think 90 days would be fine. We could probably do it in 60 if there was some urgency on behalf of the council. But we do want to have people focused on their day jobs, their regular jobs, and then know this is an additional project, but we can add it on. So whatever the council's preference, we'll prioritize it accordingly.
Well, the hay baling will be over in 90 days anyway, so this will be good to do.
So can we have some clarifications on that motion, Mr. Tucker?
I believe that, and then Councilor Coleman, since you were the movant, the motion would be to direct staff to study the practice of baling hay in residential zones within the city, and to bring forth recommendations based upon staff's findings within 90 days.
That's fine.
Okay.
Would you accept 60?
That, Councilor Van,
Mentioning it.
we're open to comments from other councilors, but that would have to be made on Councilor, on who suggested the motion.
Because I mean, we're saying up to 90 days. It may not take that long.
May not.
But I don't want to.
Could be 45.
I'd hate for them to not be ready and come back next for 30-day extension.
Okay, so Councilor Coleman, you're good with that?
Yes.
I give a second.
And you are the second on that. Now, we're open for discussion. Any other discussion? One discussion point that I would like to make, I would ask that we look at procedures in that. One of those may be the first time, it may be so far out of line that it may require baling to get all the grass off there, and then from that point forward, they may want to mow it. Sometimes it's better to get the grass off there. So it should also encompass procedures. Any other discussion items? Got a motion and a second. Everybody clear on that? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes?
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Item number 5 passes. That will conclude our normal Public Works agenda. Now we go to item of recognition of staff wishing to speak to the committee. I first, and on these items, you have 3 minutes to address the committee. Unfortunately, because it's not a listed item, we won't have any time to speak back to you and answer any questions, but we appreciate you being here tonight. If you would give us your name and address. First one wishing to speak this evening is Kim Yates.
Hello. Let me adjust this here a little bit. Okay, let's see how we go there. Start the clock. Okay, well, I really appreciate y'all letting me come up here and
We need
be here to
your,
talk to
name
y'all.
and address, please.
Oh, my name and address. I'm sorry. Ken Yates, 2100 Delaware, Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA. Yeah. I'm here tonight to talk again. I came up here and spoke to the city council, I believe it was last year sometime in the fall. There's a problem in this town with LED lighting. Years ago, the city went ahead and decided that they didn't want any signs out in front of businesses because they figured that that would be distracted driving. Distracted driving comes in many forms, not just telephones and blank signs, but it comes in the form of blinding LED lights at night when you're driving down the road. And it also bothers you, too, when you're trying to have an evening in your backyard. You know, I live behind Jackson Hewitt, and I'm all for somebody that has a business advertising, you know, trying to bring, you know, business in there and keep their businesses alive. But this is happening again, and I think that you guys should really think about putting some sort of an ordinance together that better enforces this problem. And because I'm going to keep coming back. And you know, I have one neighbor with me tonight, and next time I might bring 20 or 30 that aren't my neighbors that are having problems with this too, because, and I know that you're having some problems with code enforcement over there. Well, I wish code enforcement would take a good look at these lights like this, because when it keeps my light on outside, I have like a motion detector light. and it just keeps it on the whole night. It stays on the whole time. Well, that's kind of not the purpose of a motion detector light. It's supposed to let you know if someone's out there and save you a little bit of money as well. But like I said, it's also a big safety factor too that I'm starting to look at, because obviously I can't seem to get anything done with it just bothering me. Maybe when somebody gets blinded out or has a seizure because of these lights, it's just like a police officer car parked outside your window and the lights just become blinding in. They come right into our kitchen. We have to do like this to be able to go outside and step off our porch. I've got a giant tarp running from my shop over to my fence. It's just so that I can get a little bit of peace, you know. It's a great city. You know, some great people. I hope you do some thought on this and maybe try and see what you can do. We're in your wards over there, James Stout and Dan Hall, and you know, but we're still all in the same ward together. Got to live together, and you know, appreciate it. I guess that's about it for me for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Next wishing to speak is Kehoga Blanchard.
It's cute.
Hi, I'm Cahoga Blanchard. My address is 1921 Delaware, and I live just catty-cornered from where Mr. Yates is at, and almost directly where the sign we're talking about shines right in my front porch. And it has caused a seizure already. I have a granddaughter who had one. We were sitting out on the front porch. It was last year when that part happened. Now I have to make sure that this isn't going, you know, as bright and as consistent as it was at that time. I know that we've spoken actually to the gentleman who owns the company, and at times he'll dial it back a little bit, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe he thinks we forgot about it, and boom, it's right back up. So I'm definitely with Mr. Yates, and we're talking about, you know, getting together with some of the other neighbors to find out what's going on. We have one right next to him that literally their open backyard where the kids are at is right there. There's nothing else blocking their house at all. It is, you have a tiny little alley that one vehicle gets down, if you're careful, in the sign. I'm definitely all for, you know, businesses as well, and I do like something that gets my attention, not something that distracts what I'm supposed to be doing and driving, and definitely not something that puts some of my family in danger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchard.
I've got a question for you.
I'm sorry, we at this time, it's not open for us to ask questions.
Well, I'll ask you later if that cute little dog's tongue ever dries out.
When he's checking my sugar, he will let me know he needs to get it wet, because that's one of the major ways he checks.
That will conclude our public wishing to speak, and that will conclude the Public Works Committee meeting.
And we will go into the special call meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority of September 3, 2019. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Here. Patrick Kale.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here, we're all here. And we have a quorum, and I will ask for item 1.
Consider approval of MRA special call minutes of August 12, 2019.
You all have had time to look at the minutes. What is your pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes, and the motion carries. Item 2.
Consider approval to authorize the executive director to negotiate and execute an agreement not to exceed $43,000 with FEI LLC for Monster Motor Madness or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, as you all recall, in the annual budgeting process, we include money for an event budget at the Civic Center. That's the idea, is to recruit attractions from out of town that might not otherwise come here. And in this case, we are basically the promoter. We are purchasing the services of the event. They're not renting the facility, in which case they get all the money. We are putting on the event, and then we retain all the earnings. And so in this case, we're trying to find something that we think would be palatable to the Muskogee community. In your packet, you see kind of what the event is about, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details. But this really fits the bill of what we think might work. This is money that's set aside only for this purpose, and it's while it seems like a large amount, we do anticipate recouping hopefully all and even more of our money, and that it ends up making money for us. That's our hope. John Cruz is here from the Civic Center. He's done a lot of the research and found this event and can answer any questions that you may have.
I really think this is a good event. I know we've tried a lot of different events at the Civic Center through our outside contractor that we had before. I appreciate Mr. Cruz bringing this event to us. The one thing that I would ask is that we try to, and I really appreciate where we've priced the tickets at this event. I really hope that we get this information out there early to our surrounding areas. I think this is a good event for our community and to the surrounding areas. But so many of us in this area are on fixed income, so I think the earlier we can get to promoting this, where they can save up to it and get it out there, I think this is an event that should really do good. So thank you.
If you guys have any questions about it, we do have a great marketing plan for it, including the public system, public schools, not only Muskogee but the region. I think it's a great event for the whole region. Just want to point something out. FEI LLC, they have been putting together the Charner Circus for many years. So they are familiar with our location, promotion of the area, and we would like to implement something just like that. So it will be getting to every single student around town and the region as well.
Do we have any idea what the price will be for the tickets?
Yeah, the average ticket price was going to be about $16.
Just around $16 here.
Yeah, 25 and 15. So
That sounds
Of course,
pretty
you'll
good.
have the one kid with an adult. The adult pays, the kid is free. So there's many specials about it. So it will be accessible to everyone at any income.
I think for this type of event for Muskogee area, this is a really good deal. I really do.
Great work, John, putting this together.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second?
Any discussion, questions? Roll
Mr.
call.
Deputy Mayor Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes, and the motion carries, and that's the
Thank you.
end of our agenda, so we are adjourned.